All right, welcome to day number 2, and we're going to talk about the creaming method. So, you got to ask that question, is creaming really necessary? Well, what is creaming? What are we doing? Well, we are incorporating air into pliable fat and sugar as a combination. So the air bubbles will aid in the absorption of other liquids that are in the recipe. They're going to absorb the liquid egg, and the egg is going to help form an emulsion between the liquids and the fats. Air bubbles then expand when heated, which will assist in leavening, and air bubbles stabilize by coagulated egg will assist the gluten in stabilizing the product. So what do we use it for? We use it a lot in cookies, we use it a lot in cakes, pound cakes, and a lot of other different products. Creaming method is sometimes combined with other methods in order to create more of a combination of mixing methods. So, the addition of liquids, they must be added slowly. Emulsions don't happen all at once. So in order to get an emulsion formed, you have to kind of get it started slowly and let things start to happen. Scrape down when you're mixing. After each addition of liquid, if you add an egg, get it mixed until it's incorporated, then scrape the bowl down and start again and add more liquids. If liquids other than eggs are called for, like milk, for example, if the recipe called for that, then we have to start off with the eggs, and then we'll be adding a little bit of dry and a little bit of liquid, a little bit of dry and a little bit of liquid till it's all incorporated. The idea is to keep that emulsion stable so things don't curdle and they don't break. All ingredients have to be room temperature. There's no option with this. If you were to be using something cold, like cold eggs out of the refrigerator, it could cause curdling. So what's the worst thing that could happen? Well, lots of bad things can happen. If you overcream, you can get more spreading than you want. So things like cookies could end up growing together. If you undercream, you could end up with too much gluten formation, end up with a really rock-hard hockey puck of a cookie. And drastic overcreaming, you can see this kind of spreading on an oatmeal cookie. It is just a disaster. So spread in the oven. Thin, oily products, dry, tough products, that instability affects the texture, it wastes ingredients, and it wastes time and labor. So because it's wasting time and labor, you're increasing your costs and you lose profits. So for a bakery, it's very important to make sure it's done correctly. Disasters are really common. Here's some pictures of some real disasters. Here we've got some cookies above here, overcrowding and overcreaming, too much spread. Overcreaming and low temp of the oven. The overcreaming is seen in the oily shadow that you see in this pound cake, and then the tunnel you see in the middle is because someone was opening up that oven door way too often. And then undercreaming forms too much gluten and the product can't rise, so you end up with something that's dense and tough. No fun at all. Here's some more pictures of overcreaming. Here's some overcreaming forming an oily shadow. Overflowing, uneven rise in things like cakes. And lots of spreading and oily product. Really not attractive. Technically, these are edible, right? They're edible technically, but who wants to eat them? I don't. It doesn't look attractive. So we're going to make some Spritz cookies. Spritz cookies involve the creaming method. Either choose the control, the creaming method, or the experiment, the reverse creaming. You can choose which one you want to do. When you do creaming, we're going to perform perfect creaming method. So what we did back in Bakery Basics, I want you to remember how we cream. Remember, the idea of creaming is to just achieve a level of creaming where you see a lightening in color in the product and a lightening in texture. So it should look lighter and fluffier, and it should look lighter in color. You're going to make a half a recipe using reverse creaming or half a recipe with regular creaming. Control everything as much as you possibly can except the mixing method. So all the ingredients are the same, the oven is the same. We're going to just be experimenting strictly with the method. And in reverse creaming, the way it's done is basically we combine the flour, the sugar, and the fat to form an even paste. Then we add the liquids in 3 parts. The liquids would be in this case eggs, and the extracts. Basically, anything that's liquid will be combined together and then added in 3 parts. So one part goes in, mix it in, scrape it down, add another part, mix it in, scrape it down, finally a 3rd part, mix it in, scrape it down. So what do you hypothesize will happen? You know, normally with creaming, all we do is combine sugar and fat together, sugar and soft fat. Then we work in the eggs, then we work in the dry last. What happens when you suddenly add all the dry to the fat and then you add the liquids in as a separate element? What do you think is going to happen? Is it going to be a disaster, or is it going to be possibly a good result? We could end up with either one. It's really hard to tell. When you start messing around with a classic method like this, it's really hard to tell. But on your lab form, I want you to hypothesize, what do you think is going to happen? Here's what a Spritz cookie looks like. These are piped cookies, so I'll be demonstrating the piping process in the lab. They're very attractive, very good looking little cookies. And you'll see on the recipe that you can use jam like this as a garnish, or we could use, let's say, pistachios, or we could use any one of a number of things. You could put a chocolate chip in the center, you know, whatever kind of garnish you like. But the fruit jam, whether it be raspberry or apricot, look very nice. So you're going to need to convert the recipe for 1/2. I think it's already been done on the recipe. I've already printed it with half conversion on it. But you're also going to need a piping bag, a large star piping tip, and set up your station and start scaling your ingredients. Once you're done scaling, I'll be already mixed. I'll be probably doing reverse creaming just to show you guys how that's done. And I'll demonstrate the piping process so that you can see how I pipe, and then you can work on that yourself. So I will see you in the lab, and just remember to bring your star tip, and I'll have disposable piping bags in the lab. So we'll see you tomorrow.